accurate strategy, but one of them. Okay, we got it up there. Okay. So this one is house price index. You guys you guys have all used house price index? It can be, sometimes it over evaluates homes, but again, it's just a data point that you're going to talk about with your sellers. So what you're going to do, I think they changed the link, but this would be how you log into I want to say Stratus, but it's Realm.
I would call it the prop tech homepage. Before, this is what your Stratus homepage used to be.
Yeah.
The link is now OntarioMLP.ca. I believe it's
I think
connected.
you can still do TorontoMLS.net, same thing, but don't just skip to Realm to find this. So what you're going to do is go to your homepage. You'll see this button called MLS HPI Dashboard. What it's going to bring you to, it's an interactive tool. We used to have to do this manually and like do some math. I think you've got the house price index where we've done it manually.
I still like to do it a bit manual. I don't know, my brain like yeah.
So what you can do, so they've got a bunch of stuff. You've got, I don't know what perf over time is. Performance. So you can do performance over time. I like percentage by time frame personally. And then there's also price estimate. I'm going to go through a couple of them. Let's just do percentage by time frame. So typically what you're going to do, I'm just going to do this for fun. Let's just say, I think we're on Toronto is where Durham. This one can go by, let's just say we're doing a 2-story single family home, detached. And let's just pick an area. Let's just say we're going to do Durham. And then you go to apply. So what you can see here is it's going to give you percentages from a month ago, just generic pricing. It's not going to go based off if they renovated, none of that stuff. But what you can tell your clients when they're asking you for stats updates, you can say 2-story single family homes in Durham have gone up in price by 0.1%. So like we're about the same as a month ago. You can say 6 months ago, we've actually gone up 2.5% or 2.6%. From 12 months ago, it's a different story. So we're actually down 3.5% compared to last year. So if you're looking at comparables from last year, you can take that comparable, drop the price 3.5%, and that may give you a guesstimate of where you may be sitting at that house. If they bought 3 years ago, we're down 20% in prices. So if they bought that house in 2 years ago, you can go and say, okay, you guys bought 3 years ago. The prices have actually dropped 20%. So I don't know where you're seeing this getting $100,000 profit. You're actually losing money if you sell today. So these are the types of the numbers that you guys can give people, and you can go based off, maybe they bought 10 years ago. Take what they bought it for, add 112% to that price that they bought it for. So that's kind of where you can kind of get this. It's not very specific, but again, it's just a data point that you're going to use. Another thing you guys can do is price estimate. This one's a little bit more pertained to that property. So let's just say this one, you can actually take what they bought it for and when. Oh, they have so many boards on here now. I don't know. Let's just make up one.
Dunbar, oh no.
Do where?
Can you over here use a house price index? There's 2 ways of doing it, right? You can do what Caitlin's doing where they have they actually give you numbers here, or you can actually bring out the actual report itself.
Yeah. So that percentage one I usually use at a listing presentation just to talk about how much prices have gone up and down over the years. The price estimate is just something else that you guys can use. So let's just say that someone bought a house in Pickering. I want to go back to like 2021. Does it go that way? Yeah. Let's just say they bought in May 2021. Let's just say they bought it for $1.5 million in Pickering in May 2021. What it will do is it will give you a house price. It says rural Pickering, but you'll get the point. They sold it for 1.5 in May. Today, it would have been maybe 1.561. So it's saying that in rural Pickering, prices have actually gone up since 2021. That's not everywhere. That I think is rural Pickering because it's newer units. Let me pick a different area that's not great.
Property sold.
Yeah, there's not many data points.
Rural's not the best one that I could have picked because it should be down.
You do have to remember too with HPI, it doesn't always tell the story if you're looking to tell. how I would use it in the example she showed before where Durham was down. Yeah, well, so for example, Market Watch would have told you that prices are only down 4%. So if you have a client in Durham, you might want to say, well, it's actually 20% from last year. So I would use, you have to use the data points in a way that you want to tell a story. If it doesn't tell your story, you're not going to use that.
Yeah,
that piece of
exactly. These are
information.
just data points. You may just see that this doesn't match with the story you're trying to go with, and you just don't talk about it. So like this one, let's just say they bought in February 2024. It's saying it's worth 1.228 today. Even then, I still don't believe that. Where's a good one? I don't even know. These are not going the way that I was hoping that they would go.
Well, that kind of makes sense though, because the seller might tell you, well, I've owned it for 5 years.
Like these guys are all making money. My whole thing is to say you're not.
Bill.
Peterborough?
There you go.
You go.
Okay, P-car, north, south. North, 2-story. When would we have bought it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. February?
Just averages.
Okay, May 2022. So there you go. If this person, let's just, for example, they paid $1.2 million in Peterborough in May 2022, today it would be worth $980,000. That's a better story. That's kind of where I was going for this. 1.2. So like, these are just, again, data points for you to choose. I find that HPI still kind of over evaluates a lot of properties, so we don't use these quite a bit.
So I'm thinking, okay, here's a scenario here. We have a listing here and we have a client that the property's not selling. So this is one thing we're going to show them. If it works in your favor, you paid this amount for in this date here, and this is what the house price index says it's worth X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's one
That's one data point.
set you can look at.
Okay. What's your other data point?
Next data point, I say,
I'm gonna unshare.
and I picked a listing here.
Sharing.
I'm not going to
Why'd you do
I'm not
it?
gonna say what the property is, but I just picked a property here just for samples. So now I'm gonna go to my Toronto MLS. I'm gonna go to my list track.
Oh, right.
Is anybody familiar with list track?
List track is what replaced, I forget what it was called before that, GDF, where it has your statistics on your listing and where the views are coming from and the traffic.
There it is. Okay, so list track.
So list track, when you have a listing, you'll be able to go to this list track. You're going to be able to go to your listing. You're going to be able to see what traffic or how many eyeballs have looked at your listing on MLS.
So you'll
sorry,
go
sorry, not just MLS, yeah, on Realtor.ca.
And Zillow.
Zillow, where it might be. So the example I have here that this realmmlp.ca was
Even do this
the
one.
toppest one. Realtor.ca was there. Zillow was there. Treb Matrix was there.
So it tells you all the different views that you're getting on websites of your property. And obviously you can see most of them are coming from Realtor.ca. I've got one of our live listings on there.
So, but the purpose of this printout is to show your client that you've done your job.
Showing that people are actually seeing it and they're still not making an offer on it.
You've done your job. Your job is to expose the property to as many people as possible, to market the property to as many people as possible. It's the client's job to make the property available, make sure the property's clean, and make sure that the property's priced right. So this is another report you can show your client. This is what I'm doing to market your property.
So you've got 12,000 or 1,200 views, mostly on Realtor.ca. And you can see at the top here, you can even show your clients that most of the action's happening in the first 2 days, first week, and it just progressively is getting lower and lower and lower. And now we went from up here, let's say, oh my gosh, 135 views on Realtor.ca to 10 per day.
So part of your script will be when we first listed, we had almost 200 views, and now 2 weeks later, 21 days later, we only have 10 views. So something's with the price.
So it's just another data point to bring to your list. You can only see your own listings on there. Yeah.
So again, you want to print this out as part of your presentation, Mr. Seller here, that, you're doing you're readjusting the price, right? Next thing you can look at is broker bid. How many appointments have you had for the property? How many appointments of those have been refused or canceled? Refused means the seller's not cooperating. Has anybody had those? Nelson, you had those?
Or the seller.
We get complaints from the seller, I want to cancel my listing. Why? Your agent's not selling my property. Why is that? Well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, why is that? And we check it out and they decline half the showing. So, I mean, you know, we got, so.
Kid's sick. I don't know, a bunch of stuff will happen.
And then they forget too, right? Oh, I didn't do it. And then they forget, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little printout that you can do for Broker Bay to print out how many showings you've had online. So if you had 0 showings, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Always gonna be price, by the way. That's the answer. If it's not selling, it's price.
And
So we just got to figure out how to
And
educate
there's
the client.
scripts, right? One agent gave me a script that he uses, I thought was pretty good. And you've got a client that says, well, my house is better than the neighbor's house because it has this, has this, has this, has this, right? He says, okay, great. How many agents out there? There's 70,000 agents out there looked at this property, right? Not all of them have somebody for your particular neighborhood, your particular property in that particular neighborhood, but we still got lots of agents. Lots of agents have seen lots of houses, and with their clients, they've seen lots of houses. So an agent, on average, you guys tell me, on average, how many properties would you show as an agent to a client before they bought one? Just a number, just a random number. What?
10.
10. 10. And how many properties would that buyer have seen before they purchased the house? Hopefully, with an age, probably the same number, right?
Mhm.
And then they've all looked at your property or not looked at your property, and they've decided something about your property is not quite fit. Now, let me ask you, Mr. Seller, how many properties have you seen in the last 30 days? All right. The answer would be 0. Meanwhile, the agent and the buyers have seen hundreds of properties. You've seen none, but you seem to know more about the value of your property than they do.
Ooh. It's true.
You follow me there? So so you know, you're sitting in your castle telling us what it's worth. Meanwhile, you haven't seen any single property, and everybody else has seen all the other properties. And so this is property's not selling. Okay, this is hard talk, right? So
How do you say it though in a tone of voice that
you
doesn't
gotta
sound
put
mean?
it in words. You gotta put it in your own
Can't be
words.
Do you want to make
condescending,
fairy script
Yeah.
for price reduction?
Yeah.
Hey, Sanic, I made a terrible mistake when I listed your home. Can I explain? When I listed your home, I wasn't strong enough on the price. So I wrote down 4 solutions. Okay.
So reduce.
1, reduce the price tonight by 10%. Great. Add an additional 1 to 2% for the selling agent.
I like that one.
Fantastic. Extend the listing agreement to its original term. I don't know what that one is. I don't know what that one means. Terrific. I'll have to give you the listing back. Sanic, I know this is tough. Which of the 4 is better for you?
I'll take the list.
You'll take the listing
take it
back?
back?
Okay. You can't sue me for that. You can't. Even if they say that, be like, go for it.
Contract doesn't say,
Contract doesn't say
I
I
am-
guarantee a
I'm going
price.
to sell this house by a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it's always our fault, but we just have to kind of take that and just let it fly. Otherwise, we'll go insane in this business.
So after
Script? This is Mike Ferry script. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on my knowledge, it seems you're still the highest bidder for your home.
Yeah.
We need to go ahead and reduce the price by,
You're the highest.
you're the highest bidder of this home, of your own
Of your own
home.
home.
But we need to reduce the price by $50,000 tonight. Hi, Sanic. I'm calling in with your weekly update. In the last 7 days, we've had 2 showings and 0 offers. As we've discussed, it's time to reduce the price so we can create some activity and receive some showings. Is that okay? Great. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 meaning we must move on now. 1 meaning we'll move only if we get our price. Where would you rate yourself in terms of your motivation to sell this home? Great, we'll reduce tonight.
Well, I don't like this whole like adding the percent for the commission.
Yeah,
I think that was a thing to say, that's not an option. The
You-
only option of the 4 was to reduce the price.
no one wants to.
No
pay
one's
more.
gonna do any of those other 3
That's the point.
options. That's the point.
People can't convince the board.
I know.
I did have a friend that honestly just got convinced to pay 2.75. We'll see if that strategy works.
I don't
That's a East York strategy.
My question to the whole pricing strategy.
Mhm.
yes, you convinced them to reduce the price.
Yeah.
But you haven't convinced them to reduce their expectation of that same price.
I think if we do a good job though at explaining at the very beginning that we're going to be reducing the price, they get to trust you at some point where they're just like, yep, you did tell me this. You tell me what to do. Because eventually at the beginning, they're kind of the experts. Eventually they do lean into you and they say, just tell me how much.
I think you have
And
to
then
bring
you
them
do it.
back to their motivation too. So I had a conversation on the weekend and I said, you tell me, do you have a goal right now to move right away? Or do you have time? You tell me. If you have time, we'll hang out at this price for as long as you want.
And they usually say they do
No,
until
No, and then they say, no, I want to move. I said, if you want to move, I'm going to give you the price to get you to that goal. And then you have to play on their situation. In my situation, she's buying in a totally different market. So they're going to win on the buy side. But depending on their situation, you have to remind them, what is that goal? How do we get you closer to that goal? If you don't have a goal to move right away and you have time on your side, we can't force that. I would get a new listing. Well, let that one hang out. But you've got to go back to what their motivation is and help them. I think as agents, like some of us went to business school and we learned to make decisions. And I think clients right now need our help to make a decision. They're very confused. There's so much stuff going on. They need our help to make it very simple.
You by the way, go to the TREB meeting last week?
Yeah.
So, TREB meeting, yeah. So they voted down, by the way, the
bylaw.
the bylaw allowing you to pay your payments in 2 installments. That got voted down. Only got voted down because they rolled it into a funny thing. They wanted the board of directors to make decisions on our behalf regards to amounts of dues and things like that. And then they also said they want to allow you to pay it in 2 installments. So that was one question. It should have been 2 questions. So it got voted down like 60% to 40%.
They dangled a carrot a little bit. The carrot was, hey, you can now split your fees in 2. To do that, you need to approve this bylaw, which will also allow X, Y, Z. And everyone didn't really mind the split fees, but nobody wants to make decisions without us having voting power. So it wasn't communicated very well. It didn't go through. They are still going to be working on some stuff. So don't be surprised when more stuff comes, but hopefully they'll be reworking it in a way that makes sense and communicating in a way that doesn't feel like they're dangling some sort of secret in front of you.
So during the meeting, somebody said, I wasn't there, but during the meeting, somebody said they're $7 million in debt for last year. And then I said, why in debt? Because of all the services they provide and everybody just said, well, get rid of all the services. I'll ask again, does anybody use Habitat?
this is the first time I've actually opened.
Right? Does anybody use Habitat? So,
This is one of the
so
services.
these are the $7 million you're paying for. Okay. Anyways, Habitat.
Do you want to direct me on here?
Well, no, I don't. I just did one. So we've got different odds. So one here says that it says analyze the building. Let's say you got a condominium that you're selling. I just threw in 1 Bloor Street East just to see what it would tell me. And so there are currently 23 active listings at 1 Bloor Street East, Toronto, CO8, with the latest listed on April 30th. Between January and April, there have been 59 sales in 1 Bloor. Most common price for these was $1 million, so $1,250,000. Highest price 2.1, lowest price 6.3, medium price $1,055,000. I don't know if it tells you anything about, but that's sort of it gives you a breakdown. It doesn't really tell you anything other than what the facts are there. But there's another chart in here that talks about when properties sell, how often do they sell? Like, do they sell within the first day, the first month, the second week, 4th week, so on and so forth? And basically, how many properties sell the same day is 0.17%. So it's hardly anything. So that includes the multiple offers. Sold in the first week, 4%, second week, 9%, and then the 4th week, 8%. It starts going down after that. So we know that you're going to get the most activity in the first couple of weeks. And clients say to you, can't we just target the price?
For 2 days.
That's like the death, right? Want me to carry on?
Yep.
Okay. So we've got these charts here. We've done these charts as well. And I want to show this one first. Here's the activity.
Oh, no, you go for that one.
Okay.
What's
So we all know, I don't know if we can show this on the camera or how
Have it in front of here, maybe. Remember, the camera's here.
but she on, is the camera live or what's the?
it's on that
For
camera?
people online will see, people here have to look physically here.
All right. Do you guys, can you see that online? Can you see it online too, though?
Yeah.
I can kind of do.
I'm getting this. Sure.
I'm gonna stop share just so no one gets confused.
That's what I thought. So we show that, right?
This is how they see it online.
Oh, seriously.
What's that?
Put it right in front of the camera.
Here, then if you want to put it in front of the lens so it covers our face.
You can see it.
Too
No, no, too close.
There, yeah.
Oh, I
perfect.
learned this from, I got the, I don't know if Shiv still does this or not.
What's that?
He used to have a yellow pad of paper, yellow notepad, blank. And rather than showing somebody this type of graph, you'd write it out and do it by hand. So their eyeballs follow you.
It's a sales
It's a
technique.
sales technique. Okay. So when you take a listing, you've got time and you've got activity. So when you take a listing, you're going to get the most activity in the first week, 2 weeks, probably days. That's going to be the most eyeballs you can see that
It's
property.
not hypothetical. This is a fact. This is like proven over and over.
The
This is-
fact, yeah, the fact is so. And the reason why it's this is because the buyers have already seen every other property that's on the market. They've already seen everything that's in their price range, in their neighborhood, whatever it might be. They've already seen it. So a new property comes on the market, bang, that's when you get the most activity.
Yeah.
Your client says to you, can't we just try?
At my high price.
So yes, you can try, but during the height, when you get the most eyeballs and most activity, if you're not priced within the proper thing, you're going to lose that opportunity, and all those buyers are going to disappear, and now we're going to be stuck in the trenches with everybody else. So pricing a property is critical at the very beginning.
How much would you pay when you see the properties up for sale for 2 months?
You
Would
would
you pay over ask?
All right.
That's the question to ask for sellers.
Or the property's been in the market for two months. The buyer says, what's wrong with it? Right?
That,
There must be something wrong with it.
What's wrong with it?
Why isn't everyone else
What's wrong
buying
with
it?
it?
There must be something wrong with it. Photos look great, but 2 months, there must be something wrong.
we need to sell the property first week. If it doesn't sell, we have a problem.
I like this one.
Now let's say they want to overprice it.
This goes back to what I was saying when someone says, I have lots of time.
So they want to price it at the market, or they want to price it at 5%, 10%, 20% over the value.
And they say, we have time, don't worry.
But we have time. So that graph will show you if you're 20% over asking, then time's going to go to months, not days.
So you'll sell.
So you're
in
gonna
6
be,
months.
so you're gonna be doing showing, the one showing you get every week, you're gonna have to get the house all ready to rush out for that one showing.
So again, I would hope that you understand what I'm doing here so you can actually do these sketches, or I guess you can get a copy of this.
And I think
from-
you have to pick one or two that work for you. We're not saying use all of these things, but pick a couple. If you're right-brained and you want to draw and that helps you kind of explain the analytics, go that way. Or if you like having a PDF of visual graphics and you like to explain that, pick what works for you, but you need to have your own toolkit of scripts and tools to show these guys to help you sell your listings and not be scared to take listings.
So reasons for overpricing. Over improvement. Need.
Actually, hold on, go back. This is a good point. So we get this question a lot for over improvement. So a house has been on the market and now all of a sudden they want to paint and they want to renovate and they do all this, but then they say, okay, we did all this. Now we want to increase the price by 200,000. So how do you decide what gives ROI on improvements? Like what do you tell people right now if they need to redo the floors? In 2021, we were saying, don't do anything, put it on the market, let it go. In this market, we are saying spend a little bit to make it look show ready because people are comparing yours to other ones. And I think it does need to look a little nicer than what you needed to in the past. But if you doing the renovations isn't necessarily going to add to the price, right?
Sometimes you bring the property up to the same
The same
level
standard
as-
of what it
as-
should have
as
been.
existing
But
properties.
actually, 90% of the time is what happens.
Need, purchased in a higher priced area. Original purchase price was too high, lacked factual data. This is what we're getting at right now.
Mhm.
Bargaining room, they think they want to leave some bargaining room. The move isn't necessary, so they're really not motivated. It's a corporate buyout, foreclosure. Role of a realtor in pricing. There's no exact price for real estate. I do not tell you what your home is worth.
That's interesting. Don't we get that question all the time? What's my home worth?
So I do this, Nelson probably does this too. I get calls saying, what do you think that property's worth? And I come up more with a strategy, say, I think you should list it for this or list it for that, and the reasons why. I can't tell them what it's going to sell for. I have no idea.
They think
Nelson's
they know
more,
wrong.
you a little more detailed. You come in with and you're pretty good with your numbers and that. So the market determines the value. We determine the price. I bring the market brings your price. I'll show you a range of prices being paid for homes in your area. So there we go. So if they think they're overpriced, then you have to say what's available right now that they can buy in that same price. Why would I buy yours when I can buy this guy with the double car garage? You got one garage. Right? You determine the price based on the factors you control: marketing, time, financial alternatives provided, condition, exposure methods. So here's, I didn't do the good one.
I've got some
You
other,
say the best for last. Best for last.
is that the overpriced one?
Yeah, what
Actually,
happened?
the one I have is I combined the two. So the history so this is the history of the home. You're gonna show this one or yours? Show this one for
I
now.
think yours is different than mine. I've got my own charts. Wait, let me see which one's that?
This is what happens to an overpriced
Yeah, but-
listing.
Oh, except they can't see it here.
So in this case here, they've overpriced it and time. So over a period of time, then they've knocked the price down. Over a period of time, they knocked the price down. Over a period of time, knocked the price down till it finally sells.
Yep.
So that's a pretty simple chart, this one, right? But what if you went to your HPI and you notice that prices aren't going up, the prices are coming down? 3%, 2%, not much. And what is going on today is that after you've done your HPI, you've established is a market trend going up or a market trend going down? For that particular listing I'm talking about, right? So the trend is going down. So on this one here I just explained, I'm going to mark this up. The market value is consistent, right? The market value in this graph is horizontal.
To balance me.
What if the market value was this? If I can see that. What if the market value was dropping?
You're gonna be on the market for a long time.
I mean, this is what's called chasing the market down. This is a classic amount where they want to take little nibbles. The market's going down 3%, they want to take a little nibble. 10,000, 5,000 instead of like 50,000, 5,000, a little nibble. And the market, the longer they wait, it's going down. The longer they wait, it's going down. So now they're chasing the market down till they finally get here. So now rather than being 60 days or where it might be, now it's going to stretch out to 120 days and the price is going to be less than had they sold it day one.
This is based on history. This is fact. This is not just like our.
So what I want to teach you, I just want you guys to understand how to word these. What are you going to do? Practice it. Do it. Understand what I'm saying here and explain to your clients. This is what's going on in this marketplace.
Yeah, this is going to be our market, I think, right?
Good thing is the house that they're going to buy, hopefully, is doing the same thing.
That's right.
Mhm.
House they're buying is dropping the same way. So the spread's always there. The spread is always there. Doesn't really matter because the house they sell and the house they buy is going to be the same market. So it makes no difference.
Mhm.
So, but time is important. So pricing is critical.
So along those same lines, what if you had a buyer that really wants to lowball, like really truly lowball a seller and is looking for a deal? How do we now get our buyers to also pay market value and not shop around for a year or 2 years? It's totally different, right?
I was reading on lowball offers a little bit. Have you guys ever heard of a BATNA? BATNA?
For a decision
They call
making?
it the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And they said if you do have buyers that are looking to do lowball offers, you should be looking with people that have sellers that are basically, I think they have a low BATNA. Let me read this.
So you're looking for the right seller, basically.
Yeah, so a seller with a strong BATNA might have another buyer lined up, or they may not need to sell urgently, and they can rent out their property or stay put. Those are sellers that will not be negotiating on a lowball offer. A seller, though, that has a weak BATNA might have already purchased a home and have like an urgency to sell. Those are the types of people that a lowball offer will work with. So you have to kind of pay attention to these things, or when you're talking to listing agents, if you can figure out the story, or if you guys see that there's a closing date in particular where it says closing date, doesn't say TBA, it says June 2nd, or like if you guys see immediate closings and stuff like that, or maybe you can see that they've purchased a property, that's someone that a lowball offer would work with. But if it's someone that hasn't bought a property, has some money, the lowball is not going to work. But the buyers may also have a BATNA. So a strong BATNA, they may have multiple properties, they're investors, they can walk away because there's lots of properties on the market. First time home buyer, they're a low bat now because there's lots of things to choose from. There's no rush and they can afford to be selective. Although there may be a buyer that's actually sold their property and they're on a tight deadline as well. So are you talking about maybe receiving?
No, I'm trying to like talk about buyers says I want to offer 400 grand under asking,
Yeah.
and you were kind of embarrassed. Like
Yeah.
you know it's not going to win, you know it's low, but do you entertain them or how do you talk to
So
them?
I would say if you're working with a buyer like that, then you need to be very picky on the properties that you show these types of people. Because if they're going to be the types of buyers that are going to always be lowballing on everything, then we need to be taking them to the properties that the seller needs to sell.
Yeah.
If they're a buyer trying to go after every property and this is a guy that's got a lot of money, he doesn't need to sell, those lowball offers aren't going to work. So there's no point in even showing those properties to these types of people. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. There's so many factors happening with both sellers and buyers
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, because what I'm fearing is that buyer agents are going to be running around for a year or 2 years and again, running around with people that are confused that don't know how to make decisions and think that they're going to get a deal when really the market's still going to be market value, even for the buyers too. So we also have to help them make decisions that go back to their goals and why are they buying? Why are they looking in the first place?
Yeah.
I think the investor type person's not really out right now. So these are people that presumably want to live in a house and make some changes, right?
Yeah.
Some cases are tough. The example I gave here, the fellow's asking over $900,000 for a 700 square foot place.
Mhm.
Seems pretty high, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Good. Anyway, so if you got a listing sitting there, don't be shy and be proactive. Don't have your clients phone you first. You phone them first.
Yeah, and don't be scared to take listings as
Even
well.
when you